It's 3 hours before dawn, somewhere on the cold edge of the Roman world. You haven't slept properly in days. Your shoulders are raw, your feet are blistered inside iron-studded sandals, and in a few hours, you may be ordered to stand in a wall of shields and kill, or die, for an empire that will likely never learn your name. This is what it was actually like to be a Roman soldier. You probably didn't choose this life because you loved Rome. Most legionaries were poor citizens, farmers' sons, men with few options and a long debt to escape. You signed on for around 25 years. 25. For many recruits, that was most of the life they had left. On the day you joined, you swore the sacramentum, a binding military oath. And from that moment, your body, your time, and your obedience belonged to the legion. The first thing the army took from you was softness. Training was relentless, and it was meant to be. You marched for hours under load. You drilled with a wooden sword and a wicker shield deliberately made heavier than the real thing, so that the real thing would feel light in your hand. You learned to throw the javelin, to dig, to build, and above all, to hold formation. A Roman soldier who broke ranks was more dangerous to his own side than to the enemy, and the army made sure you understood that in your bones. Discipline was enforced with a cruelty that's hard to imagine today. Minor failures meant extra duties, reduced rations, or a public beating. Serious cowardice could be punished with the fustuarium, where the condemned man was beaten to death by the very comrades he had failed. And in rare, infamous cases, a unit that had disgraced itself could face decimation. 1 man in 10 chosen by lot and killed by the other 9. It was almost never used. It didn't need to be. The fear of it was enough. Now, the weight. When the legion marched, you didn't travel light. You carried your armor, your shield, your weapons, and on top of that, your cooking pot, tools, stakes for the camp wall, and several days of rations, often slung from a carrying pole over your shoulder. Soldiers grumbled that they were less an army than a column of pack mules. The total load could approach the weight of a small adult, carried for mile after mile, day after day. And march you did. On a normal day, the legion could cover around 20 Roman miles, but the marching was only half the work. Because here is the detail that defines the Roman army. At the end of almost every single day in hostile territory, they stopped and built a fortified camp, ditch, rampart, palisade, ordered rows of tents, the same layout every time, so that any soldier could find his way in the dark. Then, the next morning, they tore it down and did it all again. The discipline wasn't only in the fighting, it was in the shovel. So what did you eat after a day like that? The heart of a soldier's diet was grain, usually wheat, ground and baked into bread, or boiled into a thick porridge called pulse. On campaign, you carried hard, dry biscuit that kept for weeks. But the old idea of the vegetarian legionary is a myth. Bones found at Roman forts show plenty of meat, pork, beef, mutton, alongside cheese, lentils, and whatever local food could be bought or taken. To drink, you had Posca, a sharp, watered-down sour wine, cheap, safe, and just strong enough to make bad water bearable. Pay was steady, but modest, and the army clawed much of it back. A legionary in the early empire earned a fixed salary in silver each year, paid in a few installments. But the cost of your food, your boots, your equipment, even the burial fund for your own death was quietly deducted before the coins reached your hand. What truly made men rich was not the wage. It was the donative, a cash gift handed out by emperors at key moments, and the older, darker reward of war, plunder. A successful campaign could change a poor man's fortune. A failed one could end it. Life in camp wasn't only drill and danger. Between campaigns, there were long stretches of routine, guard duty, repairs, road building, paperwork, and surprisingly good medical care. The Roman army ran field hospitals with trained surgeons who could clean wounds, set bones, and perform operations that wouldn't be matched again in Europe for over 1,000 years. A wounded soldier in a legionary fort had a better chance than almost anyone else in the ancient world. And then there was the fighting itself. When the line formed and the order came, everything you had suffered turned into a single advantage. You didn't break. You threw your javelins, drew your short stabbing sword, and pressed forward shoulder to shoulder, shield locked against shield. In tight spots, the unit could raise its shields above and around itself into the testudo, the tortoise, a moving roof of wood and iron that turned arrows into rain. Battles were brief, deafening, and brutal. Most men who died in war didn't die in the clash. They died in the rout, when discipline failed and they ran. The Roman soldier's edge was simple and terrible. He was trained not to run. If you survived all of it, the years, the marches, the wounds, the boredom, retirement could be the reward that made it worth it. A discharged veteran might receive a grant of land or a substantial cash payment, enough to start again as a man of standing in a frontier town. Many settled where they had served, married local women, and raised children who would, in time, become Roman themselves. The empire didn't just conquer with these men, it spread itself through them. So this was the life. Years of crushing discipline, a weight on your back, and a debt against your name. The constant nearness of violence, and a small, hard hope on the far side of it all. The Roman soldier wasn't a hero from a statue. He was an exhausted, blistered, stubbornly disciplined human being, and the empire we still talk about 2,000 years later was built, quite literally, on his shoulders. If you'd like to keep stepping into the everyday past, the food, the fear, the strange, ordinary details history usually leaves out, subscribe to How They Lived. We've got a lot of lives left to walk through.